Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Wright, and I work with Edge Home Finance, which is a mortgage broker here in the Twin Cities, licensed in pretty much every state. Got a few more to go, but we seem to be conquering a state a month. So excited about that. But I'm most importantly here because I've got an amazing man with me. Sean Wright. He is the founder of WE Success and Sales Coaching.
Yes, sir.
What Sean does, which I thought would be real beneficial to you guys, is he coaches real estate agents. Also title, also mortgage people, but he's been specializing in realtors because in today's market, we all need a mentor. We all need a coach to not only for support, but because he's been a plethora of knowledge interviewing so many different people, he's the man. I appreciate you being here, my friend.
Well,
Thank
I appreciate you having me, man. I always appreciate spending time. Ever since we first met, man, you have just, you say I'm a plethora. The stuff you bring, I mean, I've learned so much from you and just the different things that you shared with me and the way you lead the way. I mean, I'll just start off with the way you led down to Florida because that's what made me want to start getting away from the Minnesota weather as well.
I'm telling you, that is, I'm excited. But tell me a little bit. So your background you had, I'm going to start from most recent back.
Okay.
You had exited out of the mortgage business because you were hired by a coaching company.
Correct.
And that was
2018.
2018, and then you've started up your own business.
Yep.
And that was how long ago, do you think?
So it was just over a year ago, September of 2022. We were just saying how, wow, it doesn't seem like it was just then, but it was. And yeah, I started mortgage in 2003, did about 15 years. I consider myself a recovering loan officer still. It's kind of still get the check every once in a while.
Believe me. I mean, I can certainly respect that. But this is the super cool part. He's a graduate of the United States Naval Nuclear Program. Wow. So he's a naval submarine veteran. So thank you very much for your service with that, my friend. But damn, you're pretty smart too, I think.
And I said earlier, I was the dumbest of the smart people. And my mom I always talk smack because when I got into it, it was something I wanted to go SEALs. I wanted to go jump out of planes and blow up, things and stuff like that. And my recruiter was like, hey, how about this program? I'm like, nah, I don't want to do smart stuff. I want to do this stuff. And then they started showing me bonuses and stuff. And we started with 82 people in our class.
Yeah.
And by the end of the time, it's 54 credit hours a semester is what they kind of figure out. So after the 18 months, there ended up being 16 of us left.
Holy buckets.
And I was 16th out of 16th. But my mom, of course, always says, no, you were 16th out of 82. So, but
you're the survivor.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't easy either.
And I think that's a tribute to your discipline and your, we all claim we're dummies, but you know what? Sometimes that's a little bit of a decoy. So, again, I appreciate you coming. Sean was great enough to bring a book today, Ninja Selling. I'm not sure if many of you guys have read it or listened to it on Audible. I highly recommend the book. We're all looking for an edge, and it starts off real simple. Subtle skills, big results. Elaborate. Why this book, Sean, when you do coaching?
I've always believed this stuff. I've learned from so many different, even though I was in mortgage for 15 years, I was always big in personal development, going out there, finding the next thing, finding more information, finding ways to do things better, and then sharing it.
Right.
So I love being a resource for my realtor partners and my title partners and always being able to bring stuff. And I never realized that my whole process was relationship-based selling. So many people are transactional.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, how come I have no business and no one calls me back and stuff? You have no way to build rapport. You have no relationship. You don't follow up. And when I discovered this after I went on my own, I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I would have
What it's
written
all about.
if I could have written a book.
Yep.
And so that's why I share it with everybody. And every time I do, people are like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize this was all in a book. So that's why I try to gift it to everybody I meet, especially realtors and mortgage, just because there's so much value in there. When people are like, how do I start? Where do I start? Boom, here you go.
Yeah, and I think it's terrific because what I've learned, I read. I'm not a great absorber, but now what I've turned around and done is to have Audible with the book and the book, because you can highlight, you can add notes.
Yep.
And so explain the basis of this. So, I mean, is it a program? I mean, it's all about relationships, I think, period. It's about family. It's about friends. We call it the low-hanging fruit. Past clients that have trusted you and believe in you.
I think you hit it all on the head right there, right? It's finding those people who know, like, and trust us.
Yeah.
And then delivering great service to them so they want to be the person who then goes out and tells all their friends. And as I always say, be the hero, right? So that Uncle Mark, or Uncle Mike can see you at Christmas and say, hey, good thing I hooked you up with Sean, right?
Yeah,
you took care of you, got that house. And, they want to be your raving fans and you gave them such great service. They want to tell everybody because they want them to also see what you do and how great you do it. And so I guess the thing I emphasize most is it kind of gives you an outline. It also talks a lot about the mental stuff, because a lot of us, we get beat up.
Yeah.
We get beat up a lot. We're commission based a lot, right? So
Yeah,
it's like nothing's happening until that deal closes, and there's certain things that are out of your control. You got to have the mindset, but you got to got the habits. You got to have the activities and control what you can control.
Systems.
If you're not, you don't need to be 100%. I always tell people it's progress, not perfection. You don't have to be 100% on your consistency, but most people are, I say they're building bridges, but they build 4 bridges halfway across the water, and they're working on each one until instead of getting one bridge all the way across the water,
Right.
getting it done. So it comes down to systems, consistency, delegate what you can, and then focus.
And so do you see a lot of agents that run into the paralysis by analysis? You know what I mean? I mean, where we always hear these, there's always a ton of widgets, you guys. I mean, there's every single system and book and all this other stuff where you can get paralyzed by trying to learn. Implementation, how big is that for a lot of people?
It's huge. It's the biggest thing. And continuous implementation. They find that next widget or that next squirrel.
Yeah.
Right? And like,
Yeah,
I'm going to do first-time homebuyer assignments. I'm going to do this. I can do this. And they do it for 6 weeks, and they're like, I haven't got a lead out of it, or I haven't made any relationships yet. And then they're off to the next thing. And consistency and implementation are the biggest things. And the foundation part of it is I think a lot of realtors and mortgage people as well, since we have the flexibility of being our own employers, really, we have our own business. Even if you work for a larger company, it's your business. They don't treat it like a business a lot of times.
Right.
They come in at 9 o'clock or 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and they leave at 2 o'clock. And that's great if you want to make your business that way, but then they're like, why aren't I getting anywhere?
Yep.
And so one of the big things we talk about is running your business like a business, tracking your numbers, knowing what you're doing, and being intentional. Because so many people, even like with social media, which we'll talk a little bit about later, is I say jump on social media, be intentional. Spend 10 for 10 minutes. You're going interacting with different posts. You're going making different connections on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Be intentional and then get the heck off.
Yeah.
Don't look at any more cat videos. Don't look at any of that stuff.
Right.
Be intentional.
And I think that is, I mean, do you see that with people's emails? I mean, and again, the phone is a beautiful thing, but the phone can be a wicked thing too because of just that. There's all these different, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And, how important is time blocking?
Huge. And I call it priority blocking.
Okay.
Right? Because when people think about, this time block or this time, it's like, okay, what's your priority? If you're working consistently on your top priorities, and when I say consistency, like 70 to 80% of the time, you're going to move the football down the field. What people don't do is they jump on the urgent stuff.
Right.
And I'm sure you've heard of the Pavlovian response before, right?
Yes,
Ring the
I have.
bell, the dog. Why do you think Outlook has a bell?
Right.
Right? And it's like ding, all of a sudden you look at your email and you stop doing what you're doing. The first thing I always establish with my clients and with anybody is if we're doing $1 million application, right, and I'm going to get a loan and you're going to help me buy this $1 million house, if an email came in, would you be like, oh, hold on a second, Sean, I got to look at this email?
Right.
You wouldn't.
Correct.
But what we do is when it's just us, the commitment we make to ourselves, we don't keep. We keep it to you. Right? But we don't keep it to ourselves of, I'm just going to focus right here. Like, oop, I got to jump and do this real quick. And then
Shiny objects.
sign it up and you're off to the next thing.
Well, and I think one of the cool things about realtors, it's cool, but it's super, super intense too as well. You've got the purchase agreement, you got negotiating, you got sellers, you've got inspectors, you have title, you have mortgage, you have all these different things that you've got to keep pointed in the proper direction.
All the cats you got to herd.
Yeah, the cats you got to herd, right? And it's about the partnerships, but it's also about communication. And I think that that's where I've seen so many amazing realtors that are phenomenal because they communicate not only with all their partners to make sure the ship is sailing in right deal, but the consumer as well.
Well, and that's the thing is people, I always ask people when I start off is, what do you consider superior customer service? And so often they'll say, if I get back to somebody right away or if I'm available all the time. And I'm like, in all honesty, people just want to know when you're going to get back to them and when their problem's solved.
Yep.
You might not need to get back to them in 5 minutes. But if you call them and say, hey, I'm in an appointment, is it all right if I get to you by the end of the day? Most people are like, yeah, sure. So it's setting those boundaries and then delivering on what you promised as opposed to trying to knock it out. And especially with realtors, because you can have so many things going.
Right.
They're great with people, but not so much sometimes with sticking in the boundaries, and then they get burnout. Or they don't do lead gen. And then, what's the average? The average realtor, 2 years?
Yeah, right. It's a tough business.
It's a tough business.
And I think you're spot on because I think that that's where we work so hard on closings. Forget marketing or forget this, that, the other thing. And that's where I think that so many of you out there, I know have managers or have mentors. Sean is an amazing coach in respect that he's going to kind of keep you corralled, right? And I think that keep you focused because when you start to meet so many different realtors, you start to see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So touching on that, speaking of shiny objects, social media, how do you tell people with all this Instagram and YouTube and all this stuff, how do you let them play that into their cards?
We plan it, right? We're intentional. We say, okay, I do the 10 for 10. You're doing 10 different posts you're commenting on the first 10 minutes in the morning. You go, you do it, and then you jump off. You're going on LinkedIn. A lot of people, I think, especially with realtors and mortgage, they don't use LinkedIn as powerfully as they can to build referral partners, to do research. But you need to go in there and just be intentional. If you want to go back in at 5 o'clock, go for it.
Yeah.
But you need to just say, okay, boom, when this little timer goes off, I'm done. As great as it is, I'm moving on to the next thing, and you do it.
And I think you're spot on. I think that we can get sucked in, and I know I've got them on my phone, right? And, I love my kids dearly, but they introduced TikTok to me, and I'm telling you what, goodness gracious, it's, but it sucks you in, you in. So I think that
It's made that way.
Again, to get that time blocking is brilliant because you get in there, you take care of it, now you're on to this other mission, right? What are you seeing successful realtors doing? Obviously, I think right now with no inventory, people are panicking, right? And so what are successful teams doing that you've seen, that you coach with?
Once again, they're being intentional. They're being on purpose. They're saying, we're going to be making our calls. We're going to be doing our Popeyes. They're picking 2 or 3 things, and they're doing them. Whether it's farming, my clients, little things, top of mind, like St. Patrick's Day just happened a little while ago.
Yep.
Had all of them get those scratch-off cards, those lottery cards, and mail them out.
Yeah.
And then not just mail them out, but follow up and call.
Yeah.
And I'm big on being exponential. if I'm going to send something, and I'll use this for mortgage people and realtors, mail out the HUD settlement statement from the year before at tax time.
Yeah.
And then call, hey, did you get
Follow
this?
up.
Hey, then call the realtor and let them know. Call the mortgage person. Take each event and exponentially grow it. So if I send you a scratch-off card in the mail and you're my client, I'm going to call you to see if you won. I'm going to ask you, hey, if you win, post it to my social media and tag it to and tag it. And then I'm going to call the realtor and say, hey, Mike just won $10, just so you know, I just touched base with him, right?
Yeah.
You might want to give him a call, see how he's doing.
Right.
And being that value add, but the teams are doing is they're following up, they're staying in front of their people on purpose, not just by accident. And they're not just emailing.
And
Pick up the phone.
Yeah. And I think that's an art that honestly people have lost. It's that I'm going to text them or I'm going to send them an email.
Yeah.
That phone is a beautiful thing. Yes, it can be detrimental, but it's a beautiful thing because it does this, right? And I love the phrase top of mind, right? I mean, how do you stay top of mind? Some people use calendars. I get a cooking recipe from an agent that, has been 5, 6, 7 years every month. Boom, recipe, boom, boom, boom.
If you're not staying top of mind, people can love you to death, but if they're not thinking about you, I had to get tires a while back. And I had been getting tire flyers in the mail. We all get them in the mail, right?
Yeah.
But until I needed to get it, I'd throw it away. But then at that moment, when I'm like, oh man, I got to get some new tires, I picked up the flyer that happened to be, they probably sent it to me 10 times. That one time, I was like, okay, top of mind, boom, it's right there. If you're just doing the one-offs, the chance you're going to hit somebody are pretty low.
Yeah, right.
If you're being in front of them, so they remember, it's called, you ever heard of the law of diminishing intent?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. If you and this is actually very appropriate.
Yeah.
Last time you and I got together, I think we had lunch.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, we got to get together. And we both mean it, right? We weren't being nice just to say, blow each other off. But then life gets in the way.
Yes.
And so it goes from, boom, the law of diminishing intent of you intend to do something, but over time it goes down, not just because you don't want to see the person, but because you're busy. If you're not bringing that intent up all the time, you're just not going to have the conversions that you could and with the relationships that you have.
I think you nail it. And I always throw in the word patient, of course, but consistent and persistent. You know what I mean? If you're going to do this stuff, it's cute, let's get together, then nobody does, right? Be intentional.
Yeah, and then follow up. Because people, a lot of times, you've probably made calls. We've all made calls in our career, as an agent or as a mortgage person where you're like, oh, I haven't talked to this person in 6 months. What am I going to say? I meant to call them last week and I didn't, I didn't follow up. But if you can call and do one of two things, either add value, all right, or add relationship, then that's great. If every day, Mike, I put $1 into a savings account for you, and you got a message that said, Sean just put $1 in there, would you, after 5 days, would you be like, oh crap, I just got another message, Sean's? No, you'd take that all day,
right?
As long as I'm adding value.
Yep.
But the problem is most people are like, well, what should I say? Either just call and say, hey, just thinking of you, how you doing? I call them appreciation cards. I have all my clients 2 a day. Send out appreciation cards to people. And you don't need a reason to call somebody. You just call them and say, hey, and I can do this, I take it to the next level of how do we research and know. I know the things about you. I know about, like Jake's got, his cat, Darwin, right? You've got Griffin, you've got, Betty, you've got all these things. I do a little research, take a look, and then I know your brother used to play football, right? Right? So if something pops up in social media or something, I'm going to reach out, I make a note, and on Thursday I'm going to reach out to Mike and say, hey man, I just saw this, what do you think of that? When Bud Grant passed, things like that. I see Jake's, got his Darwin up there again. I see something about a cat, I might forward that to him.
Right.
Yeah. And things like that. But that's how we can find things if you know your people. And the book does a great job. It's called Ford. Finding those, and that's kind of, frog or Ford.
Yeah.
But I always have them fill out Ford cards, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So I always have a reason to go once a quarter. I go and look and I go, okay, this Thursday in my schedule is the time that I'm going to reach out to my A's. What's going on? Okay, they plays hockey. All right, go jump online. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, just saw this article. Thought you'd like it. And send it off to them.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant, and we have so many mechanisms. Facebook, Meta, whatever the term is now, lays all this stuff out for you guys, and so that's a brilliant idea, because what do you do when you bring up my dog? Smile, or my wife, or any of this stuff, right? It just makes people feel good. That's why likes and all this, love stuff is beautiful.
And if you drop, if I drop something about your dog, if I just said, hey, how's Griffin doing? I bet you could talk 10, 15 minutes on it.
Of course.
And I'd go, oh, tell me more. Tell me about that. How was that? And at the end of the year, we'd be like, Sean's the greatest conversationalist ever.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and it shows you care. And I think that ultimately, as simplistic as it is, you guys, you've got people that know, like, and trust you. Share that with them. Right? Share that with them, touch base with them, because each person knows 20, 30, 40, 50 people. And if they're in a conversation where, I'm thinking of selling my house, dude, you got to call this person. He's phenomenal, right?
Yep.
Top of mind.
There you go.
So,
and if you haven't heard from them in 6 months, how much do you have to think about it, as opposed to if last week I reached out to you and I'm fresh in your mind. And you probably heard of the reticular activating system, right?
Yes.
That whole red car, you buy a red car, all of a sudden you drive out and you see all the red cars.
Yeah, of course.
That's, I just talked to Mike. Hey, someone said something about my kid just graduated from college. They're going to need to get a house. Oh, well, Mike does loans for houses. I should have talked to Mike.
And I think it's brilliant. I mean, I think that you've nailed so many good points. Explain, we've got a lot of new agents out there that, feel this is an amazing business, which it is. Yes, you control your destiny. Yes, you don't make a dime unless you work. But it's an amazing business because you control your destiny. Give some of these newer agents some mojo. Give them some tips on what you're seeing that would help them.
The first thing I always say to every agent, and newer agents especially, is remember, the market does not determine your success. It determines your strategy. The market doesn't determine your success. It determines your strategy, which means I don't care what the market is. If you have the right strategy and you pick that strategy and work it, you will be successful.
Yeah.
So for newer agents, it's where's your sphere? Where's your SOI, your sphere of influence? Where are they located? Are they on, which social media platform are they on? How can you bring value? What's the big thing we talk about is unique sales proposition. What's unique about you? Because every other realtor who sits down in front of them is going to say, I'm always available. I love my people. I've got great programs. I've got this and this and this. Everybody says that. What's unique about you? What do you bring to the table that's going to help them get what they want? And especially for a new agent, figure out how to articulate that, because so many people go from themselves as agent, here's what I can do, instead of finding out and asking questions of what do you need. If I say I'm the king of condos and you're looking to buy, a single family home, it doesn't really matter that you're the king of condos.
Right.
So as a new agent, be able to articulate what you bring to the table that's unique, but also listen. Make appointments, talk with people, and listen, and do active listening. If someone's talking, let them talk. Oh, awesome. Tell me more about that. In the book, one of my favorite quotes is, the last question is the last answer is your next question. So if someone says, I've got a dog, what kind of dog is it, Mike?
Right.
Oh, it's with Labradoodle, right?
Golden Doodle.
Golden Doodle, right? Yep. Oh, where'd you get that from, right? You could have these conversations and go deep, but as a new agent, just be out there knowing, and people don't want to be salesy.
Right.
That's fine. You don't have to be salesy. Sales to me is service. When I used to work for Bally's Fitness, people would come in, I'm going to work out, right? They'd work out and I'm like, hey, do you want to sign up? No, I'll come back. I'll let you know. I'll be back. And we used to call it the Be Back bus. Right. Every morning, right? The sales team, we open the door, Be Back bus doesn't pull up. I guess we have to go call people, But getting them to actually make a commitment. And actually, so when you're sitting with somebody, have them actually make a commitment with you. Be all right with asking, saying, hey, is there any reason why we can't move forward on this?
Yes. Yep.
You don't have to be pushy, but change doesn't happen until someone starts working with you.
Yep.
So as a new agent, just feel comfortable with saying, hey, is there any reason we can't be working together? And if they say, well, it gives you the opportunity then to address that, we use the term objection, but address that concern and come back and be like, okay, now that sounds great. I see we should be moving forward. Should we be listening to the house? Be affirmative and, like I said, ask questions, but then be affirmative and make things happen.
Yes, and you.
I'm sorry, I went around.
No. But you're so spot on though, because I think in all our worlds, even doing this right here, I'm constantly thinking, okay, what do I got to ask next? What do I got to ask next? You got to be intentional. I put this down and said, the heck with it. I'm going to listen and let's feed off this thing. Mm-hmm. Listening is tremendous skill because everyone's nervous, right? And I don't care what business you're in, you're nervous, but your confidence spills over to these people. Mm-hmm. And they'll read you like a book. Where if you're not listening and all of a sudden you're asking something, they're going, what? You know what? That's not what I was just talking about. So listening is a critical skill. I've got an app that, we talked about the low-hanging fruit. There's a app on your phone which is called COVVE. And what that'll allow you to do is to download all your contacts in your phone, right? No better place to start to call people.
Oh, totally.
That know, trust, and like you. And so I think that that's another, place for new agents to start. How do I do this? Where do I go? Do I get a door knock? I've done it all, right?
Yeah, I've been out there doing it. I've held opens with agents. I've done all these different things.
Yeah.
And start with your search. Start with, because you might think people know what you do, but they really don't.
Right.
And the average person knows, I think, 12 agents. So let them know you're at least in the game.
Yep.
Because if you had the cure for cancer, but you didn't tell anybody, it doesn't really do any good for anybody. You got to let people know, and you don't have to shove it down their throats, but at least let them know. Don't be a secret agent, as they say.
Top of mind.
Yeah,
top of mind, buddy. I think that's the critical piece. So in closing, what do you want everyone to know about your coaching? I mean, explain how we can find you. There's value. I mean, what I've learned right here with your sharpness, with some of the things you're talking about, attention to the details. You're bringing up Jake, who's the person that's editing this, the cat, his child. It's just crazy. And then my crazy life. But what do you want people to know? How do they get a hold of you so they can hire you?
What I tell people is that everything that I coach on, in all honesty, I'll be transparent, is already out there. There's really nothing new. You can find all this stuff on YouTube. You can do all these different things. What I see is just like I tell people who, when they start to work out and they say, oh, I'm going to work out. I don't need a trainer. I'm not. How's that working for you? Right? Because what it is, we all know we should be eating healthier. We should be making our calls. We should do these things. We just don't do them.
Yep.
And so for me, the biggest thing I'm able to do is help people put the blinders on and hold them accountable. It's just say, hey, you know what? Did you get it done? And as a third party, one of the biggest things, so I work with some very large companies, and as an independent third party, I prevent what I call professional suicide, right? If I sat on the couch and didn't want to make calls all day because I'm working remotely and ate bonbons and watched Netflix, right? I'm not going to tell my manager that.
Correct.
But they'll tell me that.
Yeah.
And then what I'm able to do is say, okay, why? Because we got to be, here's ideal, here's reality. We got to be able to work within reality to get you doing what you need to do. And so the biggest thing I'm able to do is help not only take all these different things I know, I've learned, all my clients know, and be able to distill it down and say, I meet the client where they're at. I don't care if you're a branch manager, if you're a regional director, or you're a new LO or a new realtor. I'm able to meet you there and say, okay, let's build your foundation, because everybody has different things in their foundation. Let's make a straight foundation, and then we'll build this wall. Then we'll build this wall. We'll build this wall. We're not going to build each wall a little bit.
Yep.
But to kind of wrap it up is, I bring the accountability, and you know what? Yes, you could find somebody that's going to hold you accountable, but I also find that especially if it's a spouse or a significant other or a work person, you're not being honest and transparent with them.
Right.
With me, you're able to be honest and transparent, and we find a way to get you where you want. because just like my tagline, it's not about what I want. It's me helping you get what you want. And with your referral partners, if you're, or your clients, it should be all about what they, WIFT, what's in it for them.
Yep.
So if you're out there as a realtor meeting with divorce attorneys, how do you make it so the divorce attorney's life's better? How do you make it through so the estate attorney life's better? It's got to be all about that. But that's what I bring that for you is it's all about you. How are we going to get you the way you want? I've got realtors who don't work Sundays.
Right.
That's because they've got a listing aid. They've got a listing and a buyer's rep who does.
Yep.
And do they make as much? No, but they're living exactly the way they want. So I can help get that out and filter it out and distill it down.
What I love about this cat is he, it's all non-judgmental too, right? I mean, he's not going, Jam, what are you doing? It's about, like you said, here's your goals and not my goals, but let's be friends over this thing. Let's be real with one another because I want you there. That's what I appreciate about our friendship. And it's, like I said, it's super cool because we had lost contact after you get out of the business. And but then we called one another about the coaching, and it's been phenomenal. By the way, don't send me any more brownies to remind me.
Hey,
I don't need any more. The brownies
that goes back to that top of mind.
I'll take a book all day long.
The other thing is with realtors in mortgage, automate.
Yeah.
Those birthday brownies I send out, I get calls all the time. They're like, "Thank you." I'm like, honestly, I totally forgot that it was your birthday. But the system says if you could automate things that are personal touches. People love that stuff. They eat it up.
Well, and I've always gotten caught up because my penmanship is like a 3-year-old, right?
Yep.
I can't write a card.
We all have excuses for stuff.
It is. You're spot on. Yeah. But don't let that be that hurdle.
Exactly.
Right?
There's reasons and there's excuses.
Yeah.
So right here, we'll do a session right now. How do you change that? How do you make stuff happen?
Write slower, just get it done, and don't worry about
At
it.
the beginning of the month, write them all out at one time. Or guess what? No one really knows what your handwriting looks like.
Correct.
Hire someone to do it for you.
Yeah. Or there's companies out there. I agree.
So, but like you said, no, that's the things we do. Is it's funny is because I'll talk through people, and I'm like, is it a reason or an excuse?
Correct.
Okay. And if it's bothering you that much, then we'll drop it off. We'll work on the big things. But
Jeez,
that's where coach comes in.
Now that I'm on the spot, this interview's done.
But why are you pushing my chair?
Merry Christmas. Woo, this is getting heavy in here. But anyways, Sean, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate our friendship and you to come all the way from Hastings, correct?
Yeah.
Exactly 48 minutes per Google, and but I appreciate you coming and doing this. It means a lot, and you came with gifts and you shared a wealth of knowledge, man. And I hope, please feel free to call. Look up Sean Wright.
SeanWright.com.
SeanWright.com.
That's my website.
All his info at the end, too.
Yeah, perfect. So this will all get posted, and you'll be able to find this not only in the Minnesota Realtors Facebook group, but then also we'll do some Instagram little excerpts out of here. So we appreciate you all tremendously. I appreciate you, my friend.
I appreciate
Thank you very
you
much.
too, man.
Yeah.
So thanks for everybody who's tuning in. Is if anything I can help, I'm a big Zig Ziglar fan, which is you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
It's the key to the deal.
There you go. So
thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate y'all.